There are many legends and beliefs regarding the foundation of Rome, the most widely accepted of which being the story of Romulus and Remus. According to legend, Romulus and Remus were two brothers, abandoned by their mother, raised by a wolf, and eventually found by a shepherd. In their adult life, they decided to establish a city. After a disagreement as to who would lead the city, Romulus killed Remus. Consequently, in the 8th century BC, Romulus declared himself ruler, and the city was named Rome. 300 years later, Rome became a republic. It was wealthy, powerful, nearly undefeated in battle, and generally prosperous. However, it didn't become the legendary city of which we are all familiar with today until the establishment of the Roman Empire. Rome soon began expanding at a rapid rate, and a woman from an influential family, Aurelia Cotta, bore a son. Unbeknownst to the parents, she had just given birth to the most important statesman the Roman world would ever encounter.
Julius Caesar was born into a patrician family and became the head of his household at 16 after his father's death. At 17, he was nominated to be a high priest, but was soon forced out of the position. The situation led Caesar to pursue a military career. Caesar played a role in many battles and gained the honor of earning the coveted civic crown. Caesar's military accomplishments helped him gain the support of the people and rise to the position of military tribune in the Roman Republic. Later, he was appointed to watch over Spain. After Caesar governed in Spain, he ran for consul in the Roman Senate, an incredibly powerful position which would give him a stake in running the entire Roman Republic. He won the election and was subsequently one of the most powerful men in Rome. However, this distinction was not enough for Julius Caesar. He sought informal alliances with political lobbyists to gain even more power. Indeed, the most famous alliance Caesar initiated was the triumvirate, or three-person rule. Caesar sought the military and political expertise of Pompey the Great and Marcus Crassus. Meanwhile, Caesar was involved in one of the most challenging conflicts of his career, the Gallic Wars. These endeavors proved incredibly successful. Caesar gained Rome an incredible amount of land from these conquests.
In 50 BC, the Roman Senate ordered Caesar to disband his army. Worried about being prosecuted when he returned to Rome, Caesar decided to invade Rome with only one legion of soldiers. He was greatly outnumbered, but he defeated the Senate led by Pompey. Pompey fled, but Caesar followed him into Spain, while leaving Mark Antony in charge of Rome. Pompey was defeated by Caesar, but again he fled, eventually to be killed in Egypt. After returning from Egypt, Caesar was elected dictator in 48 BC for 10 years. He then went on to defeat many of the supporters of the Senate in Africa. Caesar made his heir Octavian Caesar his grandnephew. In February of 44 BC, the Senate named Caesar dictator for life.
This ascension to total power was the kiss of death for Julius Caesar, for his assassination had already been planned. The conspirators decided that Caesar's supposed ambition was the poison in Rome's wine. These conspirators decided to take it upon themselves to save the great city that they loved by assassinating its leader, Julius Caesar. On March 15, 44 BC, the string of Julius Caesar's fate was strung out by the fates, bound to be cut on this fateful day. Entering the consulate for the last time, Julius Caesar took his rightful place reserved for the dictator of Rome. Tullius Cimber approached the great leader and pleaded that Caesar allow his brother Metellus Cimber to return to Rome from his exile. As Caesar responded, denying Tullius his request, Servilius Casca drew his dagger and plunged it into the unsuspecting body of Julius Caesar. The rest of the conspirators then rose and joined Casca in stabbing and mutilating Caesar. Realizing that Brutus had joined his adversaries in the terrible deed, Caesar uttered the words "Et tu, Brute," meaning "And you, Brutus," in Latin. With these fateful words, Caesar breathed his last and joined his ancestors in death.
After Caesar's death and a motivational funeral speech made by Caesar's right-hand man, Mark Antony, the assassins were run out of Rome. While the conspirators were gathering an army from surrounding civilizations, a new leadership was being formed in Rome, which was controlled by Antony, Octavian, who was Julius Caesar's grandnephew, and Marcus Lepidus. Antony and Octavian excluded Lepidus and took it upon themselves to engage the armies of Brutus and Cassius. Through errors in communication on the behalf of the conspirators, the so-called Caesarian armies defeated Brutus and Cassius twice at the First and Second Battles of Philippi. After returning to Rome, declaring their glorious victory, the two leaders began to have minor conflicts with one another. This conflict was sparked by the divorce of Octavian and Antony's sister Claudia Pulchra. Antony had traveled to Egypt and allied with the Egyptian queen Cleopatra. Octavian used this to spread propaganda, claiming Antony was becoming less Roman. Octavian then raised an army to attack the allied forces of Antony and Cleopatra. Octavian won the battle, and Antony and Cleopatra committed suicide. Octavian was now the sole leader in Rome and changed his name to Augustus Caesar. Augustus' reign in Rome started a period of economic and geographical expansion. Augustus conquered much of the surrounding European and African civilizations, which, in part, ushered in the so-called Pax Romana. The Pax Romana was a time period characterized by internal peace and prosperity within Rome and lasted from 27 BC to 180 AD. Overall, Rome was brought to its maximum potential under Augustus Caesar.
When Augustus was nearing the end of his life, he had declared that his heirs were his 2 sons. However, in the year 4 AD, they both died. With no direct descendant, Tiberius, who was Augustus' stepson, was declared the successor to the throne. Tiberius was a great ruler who didn't senselessly spend his money or waste time on useless military campaigns, but rather used diplomacy to solve most of his foreign affairs. Tiberius left Rome wealthy and generally a stronger empire when he died on March 16, 37 AD. When Tiberius passed, he named Caligula heir to his empire. He focused on political reform, even bringing back the democratic elections. He also built many temples and aqueducts that were marvels of engineering during the era. Caligula was assassinated much like Julius Caesar by members of the Senate to try to create another Roman Republic. The Senate could not revive the Republic, and Claudius was named the next emperor. Claudius became the next emperor and gained much land during his reign, including much of Britannia. Claudius built many canals and roads for transportation and many other great monuments. Claudius was murdered by poison late in his life. Nero was next in line to rule after Claudius and was appointed the next ruler of Rome. Nero was often portrayed as a tyrannical, terrible leader, but he lowered the cost of food imports and cut taxes to the poor.
Nero's death in 68 AD ended the Julio-Claudian dynasty, the first dynasty of many that the Roman Empire consisted of. The Roman Empire continued to grow after the Julio-Claudian dynasty, peaking under the Emperor Trajan in 117 AD. Throughout the next almost 300 years, the Roman Empire had a few rough patches, such as the crisis of the 3rd century, where 25 emperors ruled in a span of 50 years. But Rome always overcame these obstacles as a strong empire. Rome eventually split into 2 halves in 395 AD, and the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD.
While it is widely debated that the Roman Republic was a more efficient way to govern Rome than the Roman Empire, that is untrue. While Rome was under the Republic, getting elected to consul or being part of the Senate was often through bribery, and everyone in the Senate was a wealthy patrician. Being a part of the Republic was more on your connections to powerful men and social status. Julius Caesar ushered in a new era for Rome by becoming its dictator and using the corrupt and flawed Republic political system to do so. Despite Julius Caesar being assassinated, he had already laid the framework for the Roman Empire to step in and take control, which Augustus Caesar did soon after Julius's death. The Roman Empire lasted for just over 500 years and nearly doubled Rome in size from the years of the Republic. This political system helped eliminate much of the corruption and inner struggles that Rome experienced during the Roman Republic. The empire gave much needed structure to Rome and helped Rome last longer than it would have if the Roman Republic had stayed in power, and the rise of the Roman Empire can be attributed to Julius Caesar.
Caesar was a great diplomat who conquered with skill, wit, and untiring army with tactical strategies. In 58 BC, Caesar tried to